I told my sister I won't fund her wedding after she skipped mine to save money. My wedding was about 2.5 years ago. Danny and I got married in October. Nothing elaborate, a venue that held maybe 80 people. A DJ instead of a band, buffet dinner. The kind of wedding where you do everything yourselves because you're also trying to save for a house at the same time. I was genuinely happy with it. One of the best days of my life, honestly. But my sister Cassie wasn't there. She texted me about 6 weeks out. Not called, texted. Said she was so sorry but flights were running way more expensive than she'd expected, and she'd been trying to get her finances under control lately. She said she'd celebrate with me when I got home from the honeymoon, and that I'd understand when I was older and had more bills. She's 2 years older than me, so that last part was a little much, but okay. I was hurt, really hurt. My maid of honor basically carried me through that week. My mom said Cassie was going through a tight period, and I should try to be understanding. What I didn't find out until about 5 months later was that Cassie went to Tulum 3 weeks after my wedding. My mom let it slip over the phone, totally casual. Something like, oh, you know Cassie just got back from that trip with Tyler. I went quiet and asked which trip. Mom said Mexico, 10 days. When I brought it up to Cassie, she said the trip had been booked and paid for way before any of this, and she genuinely couldn't afford the flight to my wedding on top of it. She said she had to make hard choices. I didn't push it further. I said I understood and I let it go, mostly because I didn't know what else to do with it. Cassie and Tyler got engaged in February. She called me screaming from a restaurant and I was genuinely happy for her. Tyler's a good guy, steady, always been kind to her. She sent me venue links and Pinterest boards that same night, and I got swept up in it for a few weeks, honestly. I was looking at bridesmaid dress styles, leaving comments on photos, the whole thing. Then she called and asked if I could contribute to the wedding fund. I asked how much she was thinking. She said $2,500. She said mom and dad were putting in some, Tyler's parents were contributing, and she was asking her close people to chip in what they could. She said she'd always dreamed of a real celebration and didn't want to do anything that felt cheap or small. I was quiet for a second and then I said, Cassie, you didn't come to my wedding. That's not the same situation at all. You told me you couldn't afford to fly out. I literally could not. You went to Tulum 3 weeks later. The line went quiet. Then she said, that trip was already paid for. I've told you this. I know, but you can see why I'm not rushing to give you $2,500, right? She said she had already apologized for missing the wedding and she'd felt awful about it and she didn't understand why I was still holding it over her. I told her I wasn't holding anything over anyone. I had a beautiful wedding and a good life and I genuinely didn't walk around thinking about it, but she was asking me for money. That was a different conversation. So you're punishing me. I'm not punishing you, I'm saying no. She got more upset. She said it wasn't even that much money in the grand scheme of things and that she would have contributed to mine in a heartbeat if I'd asked. I said I hadn't asked family for money because I hadn't wanted to, but that was beside the point. The point was I wasn't comfortable doing this and I wasn't going to. She cried. She said she'd always pictured us being close through all of these milestones, the engagements and the weddings and eventually kids, and she didn't understand how I could feel so cold about her wedding specifically. I told her I wasn't cold. I was coming to the wedding, I would be there the whole day. I was happy for her and I meant it. I just wasn't writing a check. My mom called about an hour after we hung up. She said Cassie was really upset and that I was making her feel like her wedding mattered less to me than mine had mattered to her. I told my mom what I told Cassie. I'm going. I'm happy for her. The answer about money is just no. Mom said, but she apologized. I said I know she did. Mom said, so what more do you want? I said I didn't want anything from Cassie. She wanted something from me and I wasn't giving it. Mom went quiet for a second and then said, you can be really hard sometimes. I said, I learned it from somewhere. She hasn't brought it up again.